Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever it is in the world you are listening. The more that I do that intro, the more I find myself sounding like the Joker from Dark Knight. What's happening, people? Happy Friday to you all. March 6th, 3:16 p.m. Pacific time. We have ourselves a busy slate in the association. There will be no shortage of things to discuss upon the return of Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. We got the Heat and the Hornets in a big division matchup. The Knicks and the Nuggets all waiting on some injury news for those as well. Kawhi back in San Antonio. LeBron out tonight for the Lakers at home against the Pacers. And of course, live by Westbrook, die by Westbrook. What's up, Coach Mike? Shaden's in the chat. Unknown Kid. Appreciate you guys spending some of your Friday in here with me. So this is a live Q&A. Anything that comes to mind, if this is your first episode, feel free to drop it in the chat simply by clicking the little button in the bottom left that looks like a reply button. They've changed the user interface of the live Twitter experience a couple of times recently, but it should be pretty evident. Today's show brought to you by ProfitX as always, and we just got news as we went live just a couple of seconds ago that Jason Tatum will return tonight without a minute's restriction. Without a minute's restriction. Well, that changes things. If you truly believe that he's going to be out there for 30-something minutes, then over 12 and a half sure seems like a good bet. Over 11 and a half exists on ProfitX as well. Now, Joe Mazzulla is never, ever going to tell you the truth in a pregame press conference. Ever. So while George Sedano is on scene reporting for ESPN that there is no minutes restriction, take that with a grain of salt, because Joe Mazzulla loves nothing more than torturing DFS, prediction markets, sports books with inaccurate information, not necessarily lying. He just doesn't tell the whole story. And he doesn't want to give away his game plan. If you know anything about these Joe Mazzulla press conferences, you're over there nodding your head. But if you are someone who believes that Jason Tatum will return with a full minutes load and is starting tonight on top of everything else, then we have over-unders here at ProfitX sitting at 12 and a half, 11 and a half for your choosing. It's also the homecoming game for Cooper Flagg. The main event of the evening, pun intended, as Maine's most promising basketball prodigy is finally getting his homecoming game at the TD Garden in Boston. This is the game that he said he's looking forward to the most. Also playing against Jason Tatum, who he has been inspired by in the past when he was coming up. He will be on the floor tonight. And this is certainly the most appropriate time for Jason Tatum to come back, because if you take a look at their schedule, they've got at OKC, at Cleveland, at San Antonio coming up, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. So this is it tonight for the Celts. What's up, Helwick? Happy Friday to you guys. We'll get to Knicks Nuggets in just a second. It's got to be bait. Of course, everything with Mazzulla is bait. He does this on purpose. If you ever take something he says seriously, then you don't know ball. Now, is he doing us a disservice by not telling the whole truth? Of course he is, but it's well within his rights to answer the questions as he sees fit. So I will not trust him, as far as I can throw him, that Jason Tatum's going to play 35-plus minutes tonight, which is why you've seen that over-under hardly budge, despite that update. I do want to talk Westbrook at some point, because, boy, was that a moment that occurred. What happened with someone in the chat said Pablo Torre's got a banger right now? Did he reveal something else? You're going to have to be more specific, because I'm kind of busy doing a live show over here. I can't be watching that at the same time. StreamYard is deciding to be a little glitchy today, so I apologize. I can't do anything about it. I'm on the right internet, too. What else? Let's continue to look forward before we get to Westbrook. You know what? I am making spaghetti with meat sauce as soon as this concludes, too. It is the first Friday of March, and it is gorgeous outside. Once again, of course it is. It's a day ending in Y. We just had some Santa Ana winds roll through here in Southern California. But with Santa Ana winds, that is the winds that come from the south. It brings warm air and it pushes away all the overcast marine layer. So it is crystal clear. I can see all the way to the Rose Bowl. Potential for a chase very high tonight. Okay, what else? Why am I so glitchy? Am I ridiculously glitchy today? It looks glitchier than usual. Max in the chat said, it appears official government whistleblower appears an official government whistleblower form released. Okay, so that you mean that someone notified the government of illegal activity that was occurring at Aspiration, and I assume someone knew that this was under the table payments to Kawhi and was trying to tell the government about it. I'm not watching the episode, but just based on the information that you've divulged, I imagine that's what's happening right now. But honestly, like, we know what happened here. I don't think there's going to be any new information that damns Kawhi or Steve Ballmer anymore. It's just a matter of if the NBA wants to punish these guys or not. They're kind of hoping that the story just dies and then they can slap them on the wrist and move on because they got more important things like tanking with people's fans' ire. But yeah, Pablo continues to hammer on this story, so it continues to bring it into the light as news is made. Okay, what else? Heat in the Hornets tonight. Southeastern Division, is that a thing? That's a thing, right? Yeah, all good. Logan in the chat says, I totally get where Westbrook was coming from, but I'm not tapped in on the Kings to say if the Sacramento media were being unfair or not. Okay, so since there now is an opportunity for me, I jotted down a couple of notes because I wanted to go at length about this. And so on one side, prepare yourselves because I have a real take on this, not a playing both sides take. But speaking of both sides, on one side, you have Russ, who is accusing media members of publishing unethical op-eds and analysis because the reporters are assuming things that they aren't at practice or in the film room with the players to corroborate. On the other side, you have the media, who were not only unprepared for being put on the spot by Russ, but were given vague details on what they did wrong. And what happened next is a microcosm of our media culture in 2026. Not much was said during the confrontation, and then the media reporters retreated to the comfort of their own platforms where they had plenty to say about what happened at the press conference, despite, of course, Westbrook giving them an opportunity. I'm right here. What do you want to ask me? Not much was said. Around and around we go, as most newspaper beat writers have been laid off. Those who haven't rarely travel with their teams on the road due to cost-cutting measures by the publication. And depending on the franchise, player access is slowly but surely being limited, especially to those media members who aren't friendly to the business. This leaves those covering the team to create content on their own platforms with limited context or proprietary information, which then leads to controversial opinions because that's the last bullet in the chamber to drive engagement and make money from. There's my piece. So is it unfair for Westbrook to put these guys on the spot and then you hear their voice cracking as they're trying to respond one by one? He's singling them out. Well, the players would say it's unfair that they get to write and say something in which they have zero knowledge of without pushback or ramifications. And because no one really stood up to Russ in the scrum there or in the press conference room, no one really stood up and said, you know what? I did say these things and here's why I did. Would you like to respond to that? Russ just continuously bulldozed these media members with hardly any details, very vague of what they did. You can't be talking about the way that we're thinking if you're not in practice, if you're not in the film room. Of course they're not in the film room. Nobody's in the film room. So I would have liked to see Russ at least pull out an exact example and say, hey, Matt George, you said this. I'm going to read it word for word. Why did you say this? Who did you get it from? And then I'll wait to respond after you're able to give me those answers. And don't tell me it's anonymous sources and you're trying to protect your sources, because then you can't say some shit like that. It's a journalistic practice to be able to prove your hypotheses. And something tells me he's upset that these journalistic practice ethics are not being, they're not going through the procedure of completing those in Sacramento the way that Russ would prefer. And a good example of this was what happened here in Los Angeles with Dave McMenamin at ESPN, who wrote the report on DeAndre Ayton saying, I'm not no Clint Capella. They're trying to turn me into Clint Capella. You know why Dave was able to write that? Because he was in the locker room and he heard it with cameras rolling, with microphones on, and there were others there to corroborate the story. And DeAndre almost intentionally said it loud enough out of the shower so that the reporters would hear it. But if you're not in the locker room, Russell Westbrook doesn't want to hear from you. So it doesn't, in a way, doesn't that make sense the way that it transpired? But because there was no resolution, vague details were provided, nobody really won from this. Because Russell Westbrook has a long history of being combative with the media. Ask Barry Trammell in Oklahoma City. That went on for like a decade. Russ does not like a majority of the media. And he's in a position of power with that microphone where he knows not a single one of those reporters is going to be able to answer one of his questions, because he premised it by saying you're not at practice and you're not in the film rooms. Not a single one of them are. There we go. Stoney asks, is the Kawhi decision from Silver not going to come until the offseason? Probably. Have to think, well, Kawhi's headed to the last year of his contract, if I'm not mistaken. And if there's going to be any penalties potentially affecting Kawhi, not the Clippers franchise. So I don't know if his contract could be voided. Man, if they try and void his contract, that's going to go into litigation with the Players Association forever. This will just keep stretching on and on and on. Where we're headed with this is really just a slap on the wrist. The NBA will drop the news on a random Friday in the summer when nobody cares. And then we'll move on. It's just PR damage control 101. What else is on the docket? What other questions do you have? I know you guys are listening when the chat goes silent, so feel free to respond or ask anything that's on your guys' minds right now. Blazers and the Rockets, whatever. Pelicans and the Suns, whatever. Great job by Trey Jones last night, by the way. Anyone that was watching that Suns-Bulls game, Trey Jones was falling out of bounds. Even if the ball goes out of bounds off of the Suns, there's still time left. If it was off of Chicago, Phoenix could have called a timeout to advance it and tie or win the game. So instead, he throws the ball directly into the air, hard enough and high enough, so by the time it came back down, the clock had expired. That Jones family has high basketball IQ. Tyus Jones, despite not playing a lot, always leads the league in assist-to-turnover ratio. They think the game at a high level. And for it to slow down in that moment where he knew, or at least he was cognizant of how much time was remaining. And if I throw this bitch high enough, then the game will just end. And that's exactly what happens. How many veterans, longtime players, stars make the wrong choice in that moment because the list on the menu, the list of items is very long. Knicks and the Nuggets tonight after their double overtime affair at Madison Square Garden. Got a coin flip situation. Josh Hart's a little banged up, but they should be getting Mitchell Robinson back. Clippers and the Spurs with Kawhi back in San Antonio. And that is that. Danny says that was just insane. Well, it was so funny that it happened at 1:30 a.m. Eastern last night. This is part of when you hear me say, if you want to cover the NBA, if you're someone watching this who's an aspiring content creator, and you want to cover the NBA, man, I hope you're either single or you live on the West Coast, because you're going to be up late and you got to wait to see what the Lakers, the Warriors, and in this case, the Kings, a lot of those West Coast teams say in the post-game press conference. Luka Doncic didn't go to the microphone one time until like an hour after the game had ended. That's when work isn't even done for you yet. I know it's buggy. I don't know what. I've been using this internet for the past week and a half, and our streams have been almost flawless. And now it just decides to stop working again. So it's just a fucking crapshoot, man. I'll go back to making me small. So at least you can see something else on the screen and it won't look as bad. Am I thinking first round exit for the Lakers? Asks Alex. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Unless they play the Rockets in the first round, they can beat the Rockets. I think everyone's trying to position themselves to play the Rockets. Yeah, but they're going to be a first round exit. Every time they go to Ball Arena, that building just has a way of exposing every problem that's wrong with every problem that the Lakers have. And in this year's problem with the Lakers is they have three guys that need the ball a ton to be effective. Luka Doncic ends up shooting more shots last night than Reeves and LeBron combined. They get back on defense. They don't have a big man. DeAndre Ayton gets hurt. Jackson Hayes is having to go out there for more time than what's probably realistically capable of. Their bench sucks. They got some shooter. I guess they can spread the floor a little bit. Have a whole bunch of 3 or D guys, not 3 and D. They can't beat the Nuggets. They can't beat the Timberwolves. They can't beat the Thunder. They can't beat the Spurs. They can't just go down the list. They're in trouble. But they knew they were going to be in trouble this year anyway. They're headed to an offseason in which their books are finally cleaned, and Luka gets to pick his team. But man, he's got to be tough to root for. I understand that Luka is an incredible player, incredible talent, but he is exhausting to watch. Exhausting. Every play is a complaint. And if you were watching the Prime Video stream yesterday with him at the free throw line, the score's 11-0 in the first quarter. And he's over there like demanding the basketball from the referees. Like, pass me the ball. Pass me the ball. Pass me the effing ball. What's taking so long? What's taking so long? And the referee was waiting for some shit to happen at the scorer's table, or someone was like substituting. And he's just dressing down the referees. So when he turns around and says something to one and he gets a delayed technical, and then he's Prime Video again zooms in on him and he's got this look on his face. He does this all the time. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? Like, what didn't you say? That's a technical foul for like the 15 times before that you're arguing with the refs, and they probably said, enough, Luka. This is your final warning. And then he does it anyway, and he gets teed up. So now he's one away from suspension when the Lakers desperately cannot afford to lose, desperately need him on the floor, cannot afford to lose him. Just a couple of losses may put them down in the play-in tournament. Official starting lineup for the Celtics tonight: Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, Jason Tatum, and Neemias Queta. So who got bumped out? Oh, Cooper Flagg starting for the Mavericks alongside Max Christie, Chris Middleton, PJ Washington, and Dwight Powell. I think Daniel Gafford is out tonight too. Jason Tatum into the starting lineup. Did you guys get in there and scoop up some Jason Tatum here on Prophet X? Let's see. Jason Tatum up to, oh, what did I tell you? Too late. Tried to help you guys. It's up to 14.5 from 11.5. Ever since we heard word from George Sedano that there's going to be no minutes restriction for Jason Tatum tonight, and he's in the starting lineup. If you were watching this show from the top, you could have had it at 11.5. Too late now. It's up to 14.5. Baylor got bumped out. Thank you, Joe Shireman. Yeah. They'll still bring Pritchard up off the bench. Pritchard and Vooch, nice little duo there of talent. Yeah, sorry, you guys are just going to have to bug with the stream being a little buggy, freezy. Danny says I had to watch WBC this morning. Boxing? Max asks, who would be the most fun to see the Knicks play round one, in your opinion? Most fun? Probably the Hornets, just because they're young and they don't know any better. The Knicks will destroy the Raptors. That will be practically a sweep. The Sixers, with Embiid back, is probably the number one answer, considering how that playoff series went a couple of years ago. The Knicks are better, but if they get Paul George and Embiid back, they're kind of just hovering around that sixth spot, not really caring about the regular season. They got plenty of firepower to make some noise. They just haven't been able to keep it on the floor at the same time. So in terms of fun levels, I'd go 76ers, Hornets, Raptors with the realistic choices. Like Orlando, no. Logan says, I just started season 3 of Industry. Such an immediate improvement from seasons 1 and 2. I liked 1 and 2, but season 3 is the best. Yeah. I would say it goes 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2. DK is asking, how is Jason Tatum not on a minutes restriction? Because Joe Mazzulla is fucking with us. I'm telling you, man. I know he came out and George Sedano reported he's not on a minutes restriction, but it's so unrealistic. If you had to ask me, he's going to play 24 minutes tonight. I'll predict it right now. He's going to play the first 6 minutes of the first quarter. Then he's going to come in at the 7-minute mark in the second. So 13, and then he'll play less minutes in the fourth. Yeah, I've got him at 24 minutes. He'll come in a little bit later in the fourth if the game is close. There's also potential for a blowout, right? It's a 14.5 point spread. It's right here on your screen, right next to me. If it's a blowout, he's not going back into the game. Oh, World Baseball Classic. I do not care, unfortunately. WBC is for that's a boxing federation. WBC, like champion, heavyweight champion, middleweight champion. Ice Cold's in the chat asking, can you speak on the sneaky new commercials broadcasts? The sneaky new commercials broadcasts are sneaking into free throws. It takes up half the screen. Looks like they took it from Red Zone. This is new, right? I've seen that for local broadcasts? Are you seeing it for national broadcasts? Because the most famous one is the Cleveland Cavaliers that do the same. They have this law firm. They have a law firm, and I think they have a used car one that always comes up in the middle of free throws. That's the one I'm thinking about, but there's certainly some others too. It's not the end of the world, but you know what? If people don't start bitching about this, then they'll think they can start sneaking in live play ads. Like they don't, the entire court isn't already painted like a NASCAR hood already. It's personal. Asks Wob, do I watch The Pit? Man, is the Pope Catholic? Noah Wiley is like a Mount Rushmore Wob member. Noah Wiley, Peyton Manning, John Starks. I don't just dudes that Wob loves. Noah Wiley's on there. So yes, the answer is yes. I haven't watched the most recent episode this week, but I will tonight. Good show. It's like you're watching ER. This is Gen Z ER. So if you like The Pit, if you're Gen Z and you're watching the show The Pit, us millennials had ER for nearly 20 years. That was as good as The Pit with even more characters. Dr. Benton, Dr. Green, Anthony Edwards. We had Juliana Margulies, Nurse Hathaway. We had George Clooney. Big gamer. Oh, man. Caleb Wilson broke his thumb in his right hand. It's over. Caleb Wilson was trying to come back for the game tomorrow, too. Carolina season's over. I mean, they'll make the tournament, but if they make the Sweet 16, I'd be stunned without Caleb Wilson. That is such a bummer. And he did it dunking. He was dunking is what the North Carolina PR statement said, which is a huge bummer. Like, why is he being allowed to go out there and practice this hard before the damn Duke game? So he breaks his thumb coming off the fractured left hand. Now he's got two broken hands pretty much. And Carolina cannot compete with Duke. They're gonna get killed tomorrow. But we beat them already once. And nothing they do will ever be able to resolve what happened at the Final Four. So the war is still over, but it would have been nice to watch Carolina make a run with Caleb Wilson, that's for sure. How annoying is this fucking glitchy stream, guys? Can you at least hear me okay? Why is it always different? That's my question. Why does it just work flawlessly sometimes, and then on a random Friday, it's like this? Nothing about my internet has changed. I hate every streaming application. They all suck. OBS, StreamYard, the other, Restream, they're all glitchy. None of them work. This is so bad right now. I'm watching the screen and I'm on it for like a second and then it just freezes for another 5. It's not even close to working. So I can try and switch internets, but I just don't want it to crash on me. So you're just going to have to deal with me being frozen most of the time. Caleb Wilson gives me Jermaine O'Neal vibes. That's a great player comp, actually. What a bummer, man. What a bummer. I wonder how this is going to affect his draft status. I mean, he was certainly in competition for being the number 1 overall pick. It was unlikely, but he's one of those names that is continuously brought up. And if you fall from 1 to, let's say, 5, that's about $5 million in rookie earnings per season. And then your rookie max scale extension, if you fulfill your potential, that could be tens of millions of dollars that you lose. Doesn't matter how much you're making at NIL, man. If you're a top pick at the NBA, you see why Darren Peterson is load managing so much. He is optimizing his health for when he goes to the NBA, and KU is just a stepping stone in that process. I don't think it's the Twitter app, because you guys can see above me the screen recording of the Prophet X website is working just fine. It's the camera. It's the camera that's frozen. Have I seen the Amazon Prime original TV show Patriot? If so, any thoughts? I have not. What's it about? You're going to have to tell me. Is tonight an Inside the NBA night? I just turned on ESPN and I see Tatum on the floor right now. Oh, yeah. Also, why does the audio work flawlessly, but the video does not? If I plugged in my microphone, oh, it is Inside the NBA. If I plugged in my microphone, it's the super static. The microphone doesn't work. I have to use the MacBook Pro speakers are the only ones that I can speak to you on. It's the lowest quality, but if I try and plug in any sort of external device, StreamYard starts losing its shit. What else? We got 22 minutes left in tonight's show. I've gotten through so many topics here. I felt like I was getting to the end. The Patriot is a true story based off CIA guy John Tabler. John Locke from Lost is in it. Can't say that I dabble, but it sounds wonderful. Maybe I'll add it to the queue. I'm starting to run out of shows again. What else, chat? Talk to me. This is Q&A. I don't mind there being a lot of lurkers, but if there's going to be no questions, there's going to be no answers, and then I'm going to go make an early dinner. Oh, Carter says, I was at the game last night, and the Wemby block to the fast break alley-oop that you posted was the loudest pop I've heard in an arena forever. Okay, so now I forgot about that game last night. Thank you for reminding me. Good question. So every time something goes viral on the Twitter timeline, it's usually about either tanking, referees messing up, or flopping. And of course, with B-ball Paul Reed amplifying the play that Wemby fell like a sack of potatoes after getting touched, the finger poke of doom from the WCW days. And then Luke Cornett got the flopping call from Tony Brothers right in his face, teed him up right in his face. The whole bench was like, that was an absolute joke. That was an egregious flop from a guy who's been standing on his soapbox all week trying to shoot down the majesty and glory of Magic City. So multiple flopping violations, but the Spurs outside of that still flexed their muscles and planted their flag on the best team in the Eastern Conference, led by that play in which Carter was just describing in the chat. So I have a couple of thoughts on this. Cade Cunningham is someone who has been victimized by this man 3 times this season and watched a lot of Pistons games. In victory or defeat, there's a common denominator in the result, and it's that Cade Cunningham has unbothered, unobstructed views of the rim pretty much any time that he wants. After seeing him in person at All-Star Weekend in Los Angeles this year, I was like, God damn, this dude is huge. And this explains why that mid-range jumper is just so untouchable, because no one can get up there to influence it. But because San Antonio has a 7'5" alien with tennis rackets at the end of his arms, I watched a man go into drop coverage against Cade, which is a cardinal sin. Karl-Anthony Towns has been hit with mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper every time the Knicks play against the Pistons. I watched Victor Wembanyama backpedal and actually block Cade Cunningham's jumper last night because of his ridiculous, non-human reach and wingspan that he has. Cade had to be so surprised by it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the jumper if he felt like it was going to get blocked. It never gets blocked. Well, Victor is able to roll with his assignment as well as contest. And this is why he's Wemby. This is why he's going to be the best basketball player of all time if he stays healthy. He ends up blocking that shot. And then he's the first man down the floor with an alley-oop from Vassell that really only Victor Wembanyama could get to. He beat everyone else down the floor after that block, busting his ass from baseline to baseline, or at least free throw line to free throw line, and throws down a colossal dunk, which, to Carter's point, set the arena on fire. It is sequences like that now we're just kind of used to with Wemby, but I will not take for granted, as he is by far the most talented basketball player I've ever seen, by far. And that's mostly because of his size. That's not to say Steph Curry and Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James weren't talented too, but because this man makes looking and acting 7'5" so easy. He moves like a guard. He moves like one of us, but he's not one of us. He's 7'5". That should not be possible. Boban Marjanovic, Yao Ming, Sean Bradley, Manute Bol. He's not the first 7'5" guy on the planet. He's not the first 7'5" guy in the NBA, but he is the first 7'5" guy to move like your team's starting point guard. Wyatt in the chat asks, is there any coach that could ever get Luka's constant complaining under control? No. He has been a global superstar since he was a young teenager with Real Madrid. He has been a highly touted prospect, and he's going to be demanding the rules be enforced on him in that way. Did I see Shohei Ohtani's home run? Asks Doug. I did not, but I assume it was galactic. What's up, Prophet X? How many points is Tatum dropping tonight? His line moved from 11.5 to 14.5 since the no minutes restriction news. There must be an echo in here, Prophet X, because I just announced that before you joined. I told everyone to get in there and scoop it up at 11.5 because it was going to move. I'm doing my part over here. I'm trying to do it. Got to have a Prophet X account set up. Stoney says Khan and Flag both playing to bolster their Rookie of the Year chances tonight. Did you guys know? I didn't know this. I thought I knew ball. So Rookie of the Year and Most Improved Player are two awards. And there's also, I think it's all rookie, are the three accolades that don't require the 65 game minimum. I didn't know that. Logan says, Wob, did you see the angry responses to your awards leaderboard? They think you made all those picks instead of it being the Prophet X odds. They think you made all those picks. What? First of all, they're always angry. Secondly, they're always angry at that in particular. Because everyone has, why is this not? I do not want to have to log in again. Does it not keep you logged in? Wow. Fucking Twitter. Give me a second. I'm going to try and pull up the... try and pull up the tweet that he's talking about. Give me a second. What's my password? Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Jesus Christ. Oh, I got it. After 7 tries. Give me a second. Heaven forbid this was easy. Now I got to do 2-factor authentication because everyone's trying to scam. Why would this be easy? This is exciting content, is it not? Okay, that worked. Now I can go back to the stream where you guys are. Okay. So let's take a look at what he was talking about. Let's read some of these comments, shall we? Let's see what the Chronically Online have to say about this. I guess being the 6-man energy boost off the bench on the 3rd best team while having crazy efficiency is not better than the 2 points per game higher. Okay. Oh, and look at that. It's a Spurs fan. Wouldn't you have guessed it? There's going to be a lot of broken brains in this chat or in this comment section. Okay, so yeah, Jaquez is your 6th man of the year. I don't want to hear it. It's not, and it's not Keldon. It's going to be Naz Reid with Reed Shepherd coming up quickly. Jaquez has been amazing lately, and he does more than just score. He runs that entire team's second unit. He is a hub offensively. He makes everyone else around him better. He's got the stats to back it up with the usage and as well as the analytics. Why is everyone doing comparisons? Did I just go off points per game? What are we doing here? Oh, look at that. The person in the picture is wearing a Minnesota Timberwolves shirt. Wouldn't you guess it? With a Minnesota Timberwolves plush toy. This person thinks Naz Reid is 6th man of the year? No. Heaven forbid we have some objectivity here. So pretty much all the people in the chat are just supporting the player on their favorite team. I truly don't understand how you don't think Naz is by far the front runner for 6th man of the year. Anthony Edwards, profile picture. How is Mitch Johnson not coach of the year? With Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, profile picture. Can we invent a new award for Cason Wallace to win? That's a good comment. Thank you. Yes, well, deflector of the year. What did Naz Reid do to hurt you? Nothing. He's actually one of my closest player relationships. Over half the season went by and Keldon wasn't selected even once for 6th man of the year. Are points per game the only thing that matters here? No. Wesley Presley, all you did was read the comments and you fell into the same echo chamber that Chronically Online people do. Stop the Naz Reid hate, man. He's going to be the 6th man. Not only do I not hate him, I had him winning 6th man of the year, weeks 4, 5, and 6 on the season. You too are Chronically Online. Naz Reid is 6th man of the year, says Patrick Walsh. I have yet to see a Jaime Jaquez highlight. Oh, this is a good one. So if you don't see any Jaime Jaquez highlights on the timeline, that disqualifies him from any awards. If you're not getting aggregated by all of these different accounts that just tweet the same shit and get paid to promote certain players, then you are not worthy of awards in today's NBA. Got it, Patrick Walsh. Thank you. Nas only doesn't start because of Julius Randle, who's starting ahead of Jaquez on a garbage playing team in the East versus Nas on the Wolves, who might be the 3 seed in the West. Like, these people are serious, though. That's the scary part. I'm picking these. These are my personal opinion on who would win the award if the season ended today. Not influenced by who's leading on ProfitX. Like, I'm not just putting the favorites. I'm putting the guys that I have belief in. I'm usually almost 100% accurate. And that's why people get so mad, because I am very accurate with these. But Joe Mazzulla is probably not going to win. I have him as coach of the year. That's going to go to JB Bickerstaff. That's the one that I think I'm going to miss. But I can make the case for Joe very easily. Ryan says, this shit is pure retardation or a rage bait cause. 6th man of the year is Naz Reid by far, laughing my fucking ass off. Why on earth was there ever a week of no Ant for clutch player of the year? Also, casuals will disagree, but Gobert deserves to be in serious contention for defensive player of the year because this team is dog shit without him. Something tells me that this is another Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Ryan's profile. Let's go to Ryan, who this Ryan person is. Depressed Timberwolves fan. Hashtag take root. Shocker. With Naz Reid as his header. And Naz Reid doing the Kobe Bryant holding of the Larry O'Brien trophy. Shocker there. Ant was not clutch player of the year the week that Cade Cunningham went bonkers and Ant was struggling with his efficiency from the field. Ariana says Nas and Rudy should be on this list. They are. Try reading it again. Baseline Bums says, oh yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree. Thank you for elaborating. Chase says Naz Reid is the favorite on almost every site, but okay. With a Anthony Edwards profile pick and probably also referring to gambling odds because that just determines everything. These are the same people that have fallen into the prediction market fallacy that whatever's favored has to be true. You do not think critically. You probably missed school during COVID. You don't have any reading comprehension whatsoever because you use ChatGPT for everything. And God bless your soul because you're going to need it. Wembot says, Keldon MF Johnson is my 6th man of the year. Mitch Johnson is my coach of the year. Respect the Johnsons. Pause. Greg Boos. Keep waiting for Colby Altman to get some executive love. Okay, well, he's behind Sam Presti and Brad Stevens. Keontae George is the most improved player, says Stu. Thank you for your comment. Anthony says, Shea is the clear MVP, as we all know. Wemby is going to miss a game, and Chet is going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and Presti should get Executive of the Year anyway. There's a Larry O'Brien trophy with OKC's players surrounding it in his profile picture. Once again, pure objectivity. Jeter Louise says Mazzulla deserves it. Everyone counted them out, and they ate right in the thick of it. Tyler in PA says, does it hurt the 6-man rankings when a guy is forced to start for 20-plus games? No. Actually, you can win 6th man of the year as long as you start one more game. You come off the bench for one more game, then you start. SGA MVP has been out a few games. Okay, thank you. I used to respect you, man. Did Naz Reid sleep with your girlfriend or something? No, he's actually in a relationship that he loves very much. And to insinuate anything otherwise is disingenuous. I used to respect you, man. Oh, like the 10 weeks prior to this, you still respected me until week 11 where hardly anything changed. Please come at me with a more unique and creative insult. Oh, I'm used to this. 10,000 Howls with a Minnesota Timberwolves profile picture says, is Wab a casual? Gopher Gus says, Jaquez over Nas is a choice. Thank you. Laragon 98 says, Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year again, and Key is very clearly the most improved player unless he doesn't meet the minimum games threshold. Just be thankful that these people don't have any influence on who gets these awards, similar or in contrast to the All-Star game, in which they have 50% equity in naming the starters. Will says, but I don't want Shea to get the MVP. Well, that's too bad. Life's hard. B-Dub says, nobody is beating Nas out of 6 Man of the Year, buddy. Okay, we'll see about that. Scotty G says, keep spelling Ant's name wrong. I don't know what that means. G says, Jaime Jaquez shouldn't be a favorite to win any award. With 4 likes. Thank you for the information. Chet, Defensive Player of the Year. Isaiah Joe or Cason Wallace, MIP. Well, I had Chet for a while, but unfortunately Wemby, with the Spurs' success, makes that pretty obvious. Ghost of Quincy says most improved should go to Neemias Queta. Invalid post. I appreciate it. Matt Pat says Ryan Hollins is the most improved player, period. Must be a relative. Ant for MVP. Ant for MVP. Stephen Lindsay says Hawks GM should win 2 fleeces, trade dump. And what? Hawks GM, 2 fleeces, trade dump in Pelicans draft. If the team's 500. Rupert says, Rob, your 6-man is disgusting and actually ruined my weekend reading that shit, man. Well, perhaps you should go work on your grammar, and then you'll feel a little bit better about your reading comprehension. MF really said Jaquez Jr. Do I think Keontae would be okay, this is a bot. Nas, Keldon Johnson. Oh, thank you for your take. Why is there a video of Bailey Ober? Oh, is he saying Nas Reed?
Who are these people?
Who are these people? That's actually kind of funny. You win so far. Dub's thoughts. Non-ball watcher Missoula, and then Buck Walter contributes to the conversation saying dumbass. And there you have it. An average day in my comment section with all sorts of substance to these people's thoughts. Once again, a microcosm of the dead internet theory on display here once again. On that note, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. 2 minutes until Jason Tatum makes his debut. The Boston Celtics tonight. It's been a pleasure sharing the field of battle with you all. Be back on Monday. Our usual Monday, Wednesday, Friday cadence for doing it. Recap the weekend that was. Hear anything that you guys did fun. GG's in the chat. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, retweet button on the way out, be much appreciated. Be sure to use ProfitX for any of your sports prediction market needs. See you guys on the timeline. Deuces.